With these words, I, Rabuti Gilliman, Lord Commander of the Imperium, son of the Emperor of Mankind, declare the Indomitus Crusade. Traitors, mutants, demons, they heed to the coming of my armies, and the ruin we promise your miserable kind. This galaxy is ours.
So this is actually just going to be a live stream where I basically brainstorm through an upcoming book that I've just barely started on. And I want to make sure that I kind of get it right from the off, or at least as close to at least the planning session as possible. So let me see. Let's first bring in my good friend, the Holy Ninja.
Tell me, do you bleed? You will.
Great. I'm the Punisher. Great.
Fair. Yeah, kind of. And
That means I'm cringe. Wait, I have always been cringe.
Punisher or John Bernthal was cool.
I just think the Punisher is just cringe in general.
Really? I think he can be done right, like John Bernthal.
Oh yeah,
in the Netflix series.
Of course.
Well.
Of course. I'm just not a fan of the Punisher.
Fair enough. All right, let's bring in Sir Bard.
Here's to the bard and I'm calling me plum. Here's to the beast and the rest of you scum. The cage is locked in and the town is aflame, and it's ours for the taking. So you get the fame.
Good afternoon, everybody.
All right, always a pleasure to see Mr. Bard on here. Now, let us bring in his lovely lady, shall we? Where is her entrance? Ah, here it is.
Yep, that's me.
Well, if I'd known I'd get such a good welcome back, I would have come back sooner. Like that's the first time you've not sent some fucking disgusting shit before in a long time. My God. Well done. Pat on the back.
Thank you. Well,
anyway.
You said well done, and I was just like, what?
What?
Don't you have anything better to do but torment her right now?
Oh God, that was worse than any of the others. So bad, I didn't think you were that bad. Oh dear. Anyway,
I always find new lows to sink through. Haven't you noticed?
You do. Why am I here? I take everything back. I was quite happily drawing little Lady Anna. Being wholesome. I'm still drawing little Lady Anna, to be fair. If I'm not listening, that's why.
Well, technically it's still wholesome. I haven't made any bad sex
shut the
jokes yet.
fuck up and get the other people in. Shut up.
Oh,
fuck's sake.
That's it. You were.
Oh, wait. White's fucked off. Okay, great. Brilliant.
Yeah, he decided to sod off, yeah.
Oh, dickhead. Still here. Anyway.
Yeah, I guess anything that requires more than 3 brain cells he can't be bothered to show up for.
Wow. Jesus. Deary me. Well, you know, life's a bit confusing sometimes. Poor dragon needs to sleep or something.
If it ain't Star Wars or Transformers, he wants nothing to do with it. That's why I say he only has 3 brain cells.
Oh dear.
let's just go with he has a 3-track mind. How about that?
What's the third thing?
Probably games.
I was
No,
thinking Doom.
no, he showed how shit his taste is just now. Jesus Christ, wasn't that funny?
You need to, you need to calm down.
Okay.
Look,
Ninja
I've
like
been
that.
on. I've been on a long days of work and a little bit of less sleep than usual. So
Ah,
God damn, that horrified me.
just leave our eardrums intact. Is that all right? Can I please request that? You know, I won't yell at anyone to fuck off and shut the fuck up if that's the case. Is that okay?
Okay. Alrighty.
All right.
Alright. So currently, as everybody knows, I've been playing a lot of Warhammer 40k, specifically Dawn of War, and I've kind of become a little bit enamored by the universe, so much so that I kind of want to take some ideas from it, like the idea of a galaxy at war, power armor, melee weapons coupled with guns. And I just thought, that's really cool. I'm going to have to take some ideas. And even as I've been diving into the lore, I'm just like, okay, these are also cool. But I'm currently just working on a plot outline.
okay, so not world building stuff right now. Okay.
I would kind of get into some world building. I have a few ideas. I've been kind of collecting some images via Pinterest that I kind of like that might have some ideas for races on there.
So the biggest question is it more sci-fi or is it fantasy set in space? Because Warhammer 40k is fantasy set in space. It's not. There's some sci-fi elements, but it's not like
it's very
totally
fantasy.
sci-fi. Okay.
Yeah, I think sci-fantasy works better because that kind of the idea is that there are elements of, I guess, faith-based magic or anti-faith-based magic that go on
In Warhammer?
in this one.
Oh, and what you're doing? Okay.
Yeah, since
And it technically works that way in Warhammer. Technically,
No, it's the chaos realm. So like, it's more. It literally is just a chaotic magic system. There is almost no rhyme or reason.
well, okay, so that's it. There is a lot of weird nuances that it goes into, where it's like faith is technically a magic, like the chaos realm does actually react to faith and belief, and then you got
Well,
the orcs.
yeah. I meant more in its execution.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. In terms of that, it's
Not its formation, but the way you utilize it is what I'm saying.
I agree with you, with some
Right.
caveats, but those are more exceptions than rules.
Right.
But
Yeah. In terms of my starting place, what I've kind of been doing is actually going back to looking at some of my experiences from my mission out in Kansas and actually transplanting some of my experience as well as what things were going on in the mission and during my time there, and just kind of creating a narrative using that.
Mhm.
And I actually got to interview my mission president actually a couple nights ago, and was able to get a lot of insight in terms of how the church bureaucracy works in terms of running a mission, and kind of what surprised him and what didn't. Actually, one of the main surprises that he got was the fact that a mission requires an entire office staff, and you have a budget that you have to adhere to. You also have to deal with reselling the mission cars and stuff like that. But currently, like, the setup is, it's this isolated star system area. And there's multiple factions that are fighting over the area.
Are the factions races, or are they all human?
There are a few different races. Yeah, like there's. Sorry, go for it.
Yeah. Well, then my next question is: are you just taking like well-known fantasy races and putting them in this space, or are you doing standard sci-fi alien tropes?
Kind of the idea is to actually put these into kind of come up with some ideas of my own. I know there's kind of this. I have a couple of vague ideas. Like I have the Slither Brand, which are basically lizard dudes.
Okay.
And kind of have them behave like slightly more intelligent orcs, or maybe I'll even have an orc variant in there. I'll have to work. I'm still working through that one though.
Yeah. Okay. There is a Warhammer Fantasy race called the Lizardmen, actually, and they are they have some sci-fi elements to them, but they are based on Aztec.
Okay.
Aztec look. So if you and it's so weird in fantasy. I notice is that the Lizardmen tends to be more Native American based, or in both of South and North.
Okay.
Well,
You know what's interesting, actually? Have you heard of Battlestar Galactica?
I have, but I've never gotten the opportunity to watch it.
Well, supposedly the original movie is literally just space Mormons. Like
Sorry,
the
what? Oh
space.
yeah.
I did not know that. I did not know that. I knew nothing about the franchise, but I was watching something about Star Wars rip-offs, and that's what Battlestar Galactica is, at least the original series.
That's actually really kind of funny.
Yeah, they're doing that thing where they're trying to find their way back to Earth because they went on a mission and got lost.
Okay, that is very interesting.
do Mormons get lost a lot on their missions?
Yes, I can tell you definitively that yes, we often do get lost when we're trying to find our way to appointments. That is correct.
Huh.
End up in the wrong country, that kind of thing. Big adventures, try and get home, homeward bound style.
No, but there were a couple of missions that missionaries that got kidnapped. Well, there were a couple of missionaries that got kidnapped while they were in Russia.
Well, no shit.
Well, that's a bit awkward.
Well, that actually seems normal for a missionary of any kind.
That sounds a little bit like a kerfuffle to get out of.
Yeah, they
might make you rethink going to Russia. To be fair.
They eventually got out, and they actually made a movie about it.
Fun times, fucking wacky Russians. Wacky Mormons too, but you know.
Oh yeah, we're definitely wacky people.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't fully gotten. I've gotten some ideas. Like I know that another one of the factions is kind of the apostates, which are kind of in some ways like chaos, but it's basically.
Oh, done.
Mm-hmm.
Let's set her in, the poor girl.
Oh, yeah. Let me see. Oh yeah, let's bring in a setter.
physics.
How does that?
I was hoping at the very end that there was going to be a big cheese.
Maybe I should put that in. Yeah.
That adds
You-
how
You need to get like
my-
It's Merlin. It's from the
Oh,
Merlin
okay.
mini-series. It's really bad.
I
you
can
need to
tell
get-
the axe is not. They did it. They were lazy enough just to make it spin. They just had it fly straight
That's from
like a
Merlin?
spear.
Oh
no,
my
not the
God.
not the BBC series, not the BBC
Oh,
like
okay.
long series. It's a
Okay,
mini
not the gay
series.
Merlin, a different Merlin.
No. Oh no.
Damn.
Oh dear.
Look, everyone knows what I'm talking about when I say the gay Merlin.
I was just. It's not even a funny joke anymore. So, I was just gonna say, you need to get like one of those, like little short documentary things. You know that they do on different like kind of. I don't know if you
mini
rural
docs.
people. Yeah, rural people who do their little traditional trade thing. You need to get like traditional cheesemongers, a mini duck, and make that your.
I love that. Yeah, I don't know why I had the image of me doing like the grape crushing for wine, but somehow for cheese. But that didn't work.
Well,
There's
cheese
some
goes
weird-
with wine.
Cheese does go with wine, but you don't put your feet in cheese and stomp it to make it.
No, but there's like cool you know, like not machinery. That's too, fancy, modern. But there's cool contraptions that they use to make cheese, so you could have some. Like milk
Honestly,
churners and stuff.
I think you should somehow make cheese a primary theme in this book.
Yes.
That's going to
Yes.
be kind of difficult because I hate eating cheese, except
Oh,
on pizza.
what a fucking shitty human
then
being are
The
you?
villains, cheese people. That way you can kill the cheese.
I like cheese on pizza and hamburgers, i.e. when it's saturated with grease.
You would
Mm.
actually get like murdered on sight in my country.
For what? For having. Sorry, hold on. No.
For having terrible taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Look,
like, for
we're
having inedible food.
we're a country of traditional cheesemakers, all right? Shut the fuck up.
True.
And
I-
Fair.
our cheese tastes of cheese, not mildly of. I think I can taste cheese after 5 bites. You know?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I saw the funniest thing was like one person in Britain was taking out Chinese takeout and they were getting roasted for it. English Chinese takeout, which was mostly fries and chicken nuggets.
Huh.
And curry
I mean,
sauce.
I've never come across. I mean, curry sauce more a Chinese place though.
Yeah,
Interesting.
exactly.
We have some Chinese places that like double as a fish and chip shop, because fish and chip
Oh.
shops are often staffed by Chinese people. Or,
Oh,
like,
okay. That
it's-
makes sense.
I-
It looks like he ordered fish and chips from a Chinese restaurant.
Hmm.
Yeah, and fish and chips doesn't just have fish in the shop, because you can get pie, or you can get a battered sausage, or a plain sausage, or I'm explaining fish and chips to people now, but
I'm
and fish and
thinking
chips is
that-
often served with curry sauce, and fish and chips curry sauce is the best thing on the planet. So,
Okay.
Interesting.
Sauce.
I will have to leave that to somebody who will probably enjoy it more than me.
Right. Okay, so Dunn, tell me about the new book in a real quick. Get me up
Well,
to speed.
Well, basically, I'm just kind of working out a lot of the initial ideas. Kind of currently, I'm working my way through factions. I've got some basic ideas so far.
Okay.
There's the faithful, which are essentially kind of the protagonists of the story. There's the apostates, which are people who made a bit of a power grab for for position and authority within the faithful, and then tried to use violence when they lost, and eventually had to be kicked out.
Okay, is this sci-fi in space, or what genre is it?
It's sci-fi fantasy, like
Sci-fi
Warhammer or Star Wars. Actually,
Oh, okay.
was one of the main inspirations. I was just, and kind of at least kind of a thing that I realized that I could do was I could,
Apostates.
yeah, since,
Visual.
yeah, I'm just kind of using a lot of this as visual reference.
Yeah. For plot details, whenever you want to, I can tell you how I've been using AI to help me in the brainstorming. When you try to ask it to make something out the whole class, it's not creative. But if you use it as I use it as a little librarian, I have a feeling that this concept exists, but I don't know about it, and go with it. And for the cool example was the context. I always feel silly about writing fan fiction, but I wanted to write a really in-depth Fallout one where the main character was Japanese, and I wanted Shintoism to be at the forefront of the synth discussion. And I was like, isn't that a thing in Japanese culture where they believe objects have souls? And it explained it all to me, how it tied in, even gave suggestions on where in the narrative to tie it into. And I was like, whoa. And it's also,
that is actually impressive.
That is interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it is, because it would have taken me forever with lots of keywords to go find that concept. And even then, it wouldn't have probably answered it directly. So it saved me a bunch of time. And I still like the idea of trying to examine the idea of androids and AIs.
Well, actually, wasn't that the idea behind Blade Runner?
Blade Runner.
The original source story that became Blade Runner?
No. Well, do robots dream of electric sheep or androids?
Yeah, it was
androids,
I think
yes.
I don't know what the fucking book is about. The book, I've only read a couple of chapters in, and he's bitching about having a robot sheep, so I can't...
A robot sheep? What is the point of that?
Apparently status. He doesn't want people to realize his sheep is robot, though. So, they have to have the repair mechanic come in disguise as a vet. Because status, I don't fucking know. I read it, and I was very, to be fair, I haven't read the whole book yet, but, I was seeing why it says inspired by.
Yeah.
What I'm getting is that Welsh people took over in the cyberpunk future. That's all I'm getting.
Wow,
that
this
was
really
really
is
low
hell.
joke. Really low joke, but,
This really is hell. Fucking
finally,
Mahler's mechanic.
They got the Welsh got their day. They stopped being a third world country, finally. And then turned the world into one.
So you're saying, Welshmen had their chance.
They did. They came out of their little sheep farms, their tiny little cottages in the middle of the mountains, and they went, oh, I got an idea. I'm not doing a Welsh accent, I'm sorry. What about them androids?
Mm-hmm.
They sound like a good idea.
Since unlike me, you exercise restraint. Is that what you're saying?
What?
Unlike me, you exercise restraint and not trying to do accents.
I can do a Welsh accent when I'm in the mind brain of it.
When you're in the mind,
I'm not.
Let me the
hold on. Let me put you in the mindset. Bah.
Are you?
This is Cyber Wales though. So.
Sorry, let me try and auto tune it for you.
Oh my god.
I can't. I do have no idea how to even try.
Yeah, I don't even. Perfecto. Bye. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so if you want, I can tell you the URL, and it's a free account to sign up, but we'll finish your first task and move on to that.
Oh, I see a wild crow is entered. Here we go.
Yeah, we did that for you.
Oh my god.
My wife is now yelling at me because she thinks I'm going to give her context.
Yeah.
So
Poor Pixie.
just to pick up on where you guys were talking about, in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, having a live animal is a symbol of wealth and stature, because live animals are just almost not a thing in the world at that point.
Makes
It's
sense.
so fucking irradiated. They have to wear like. Oh God. First thing is like, oh, you gotta wear your lead codpiece, as if that wouldn't, kill the swimmers too.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Ah.
I don't know. Old sci-fi books are just weird like that, especially in the first part. And I have trouble finishing things, so I keep constantly reading the first several chapters of these wild ass sci-fi books.
Speculative sci-fi books, especially from like when you're getting to like the 30s, the 20s, the 10s, it gets wacky.
Oh yeah, and they get so much fun. It's
Hi, Ray. Did you fucking?
Yeah, I just use it as a character model. Yeah, there's a sister in my couple of sisters in my mission that actually looked a little bit like Daisy Ridley, so I just decided I'd migrate that over.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
All right.
Interesting.
yeah.
I too am very gay.
Like I know. I know in like at the server someone talks about like how sci-fi spawns from a lot of stuff from Dune. But Dune was super inspired by sci-fi from like pulp sci-fi from like the 30s, like Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is-
yeah.
Sci-fi was like born in, I think, the end of the 19th century. So
Well,
it's
Yeah,
sort
it
of
was
like
a
H.G.
Victorian
Wells.
age.
H.G. Wells was like, I think, the father of modern science fiction.
yeah, but like point being that like that era, even if it wasn't sci-fi yet, it was
Yeah, it was
turning
the,
into sci-fi. You know what I mean? It was the concepts were
Yeah.
starting to emerge, and especially when you get into early cinema, like in the 10s and the 20s, you've got like all of these ideas suddenly flying out, and it's all particularly with cinema and stuff, it's like experimental. It's like, look at all these images, look at all of these concepts. You've got so many ideas flying around that like they're all kind of stealing from each other, and then in the books they're kind of throwing the ideas together because they're so excited about these concepts, that they can put together. And it's like it's not until the mid 20th century really that you really get cohesive sci-fi
Guy in a
world.
silver suit on like
know.
on the back lot of a Californian studio.
Yeah,
Science in our
and
sci-fi.
obviously
How much?
obviously that's where you end up with Dune and things like that have really brought everything together. And obviously that a lot of things try to be that way because it is a very nice neat box, and that's why Star Wars resembles it a lot and that kind of thing.
Well, when
You know
did
what is actually?
when did
you know
Duke
what is-
come out? Sorry, I just want to know when.
I
Duke
was just saying like the early. What was the earliest sci-fi novel that people say, and
What?
you know when? A book called A True Story, written by Lucian of Samosata, and it was back during the Roman period, and it's wild.
It was released in August 1965.
So that was like a few years either before or after Star Trek. I can't remember.
Oh, I was thinking Dune. Well, Dune reminds me a lot of Lord of the Rings.
No, here's what I would argue. I would argue that in terms of like aesthetic, or at least in terms of design, Dune is the Lord of the Rings of science fiction. But I think
the first episode of Star Trek aired September 8th, 1966. So 1 year before Star Trek.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Not
technically, Star Trek is the father of all modern sci-fi.
Well, that's what I was getting at. But the problem with like science fiction, it's far different because I believe you could have far more genres of science fiction than you could fantasy, just on the basis of we don't know what the future is, but we know we have a good idea of what the past was, both for good and ill.
Mm-hmm.
I think
There's
somewhat.
questions about that.
It's also to kind of remember that, like, although we say that fantasy begins with like Tolkien and stuff, there is like a long history of things that we would now call fantasy, but that weren't called fantasy.
Folklore.
Yeah.
Like Alice in Wonderland is a fantasy book, pretty much, but it wasn't
Right.
in a time when fantasy was a concept. You know, like
Yeah.
Fair point.
you know, like things like fairy tales and stuff. That kind of thing all have very fantasy elements, but fantasy didn't become a concept until later. You know, and
That's a fair point.
as
And if
well.
we dig into ancient cultures, ancient cities, all this, they had ancient history then. Tales of myth and legends, creations,
Mm.
even
Like
all the way up
fantasy
to
is-
the earliest of man. It's like, do we
Mm.
actually know what happened in the past? How old is the planet? Do we
Yeah.
actually grasp the concept?
So here's the funny thing. So a true story of the earliest labeled sci-fi book. It's actually it was written as a parody of travelogues. So back in the day, these rich people would write these things called travelogues, where they go to exotic lands,
Mm-hmm.
tell about their travels, and they purposely, a lot of them were purposely saying wacky stuff about the
Where
desert.
they were going.
Instagram-
like
Instagram influencers.
I do.
persistent.
I was about to say, my God, these
Nothing new under the
influencers in
sun.
social media.
They ruined it.
Yeah, exactly. And so this guy was so sick of it that he decided to make a true story where the only true thing was that he ended was where the major lie was that he never made a sequel. Or like
Oh my god.
it's hilarious.
It kind of reminds me of like in the Victorian era, you had this like real obsession with writing a novel and then like framing it as if it's like pieces of evidence to a real story. You know,
Oh, like Gulliver's Travels.
Like how, or like how Dracula's written. You know,
Oh,
like it's all of these pieces of evidence that leads up to the fact that this is like, you know, these diary entries, and they'll use like different. What was it? Another one, a really good one is The Woman in White. That is a brilliant
Those are
book.
just ancient ARGs.
Oh, another fun fact about the ancient world, ancient Rome. This is
1800.
This is the reason I know this is because it's tied to my personal biblical studies. But there's a theory that goes out with certain texts of the Bible that was not written by the authors who claim to be the authors of the Bible, because it was common back in that day, in certain periods, to have people write something and then pretend to be one famous person.
Makes sense.
Oh my
It's
Ghostwriters. So is that like the first instance of ghostwriting?
it was ghostwriting essentially, just like ghostwriting, but somebody was doing it to take credit. Was trying to famous person. It's like, yes, this isn't my opinion. This is the opinion of Cicero.
See, it's just reminding me of like the ancient lore of like Harry Potter fanfic world, where like everyone who pretends to be what's his face that wrote the My Immortal fanfic, they're all pretending to be her.
Oh yeah.
And it's like none of them are her. It's like, it was me. It wasn't you.
Oh my gosh.
What if we're all just God's fanfic?
Oh God.
Oh
no.
Oh Lord.
That is a very interesting idea.
That is cursed.
No, it's not
That is
done, it's a
cursed.
joke.
What if gods are fanfic?
No.
No, that is so pedestrian, because that's what a lot of people think.
That's what atheism is.
Oh no.
That's fair. Yeah.
What
That's
if God was one of us?
But look, I haven't. I'd read the Bible if a fan fiction writer rewrote it.
My best friend once proposed we write the Bible too.
Of course he did.
Oh my god.
Now with more velociraptors.
Something like that.
Oh my god, yeah. Jesus doesn't ride in on a donkey, he rides in a fucking velociraptor.
He rides in on an ass,
And
your
they-
mama's ass.
Oh, but here's the funny thing:
They wait
the
pussy
Bible
in
would
air
be
if you
crappy. the Bible would be crappy fan fiction because fan fiction actually has dialogue.
I don't know.
I know. Maybe it's stylized.
They don't
Ninja,
even talk
ever
to
heard of that?
In some fics, they get right to the point and they never speak a word.
My brother was once talking to me about the Silmarillion, and because he tried reading it, and he said it's a really tough read. I said, why? He said it's Tolkien's essentially religious book. I said, so does it read like the Bible? He said, I don't know, I didn't get that far. I opened it, and sure enough, it starts with, at first there was darkness.
Yeah.
Well,
The Silmarillion is also not finished, so that makes it hard to
Yeah.
read too.
The Silmarillion is literally just Tolkien's personal author's notes that he was planning to publish at some point, but he kept on rewriting it because originally he was going to publish it alongside The Lord of the Rings. So the idea was that you read The Lord of the Rings, the story part, but then to get more deeper into the lore of the world and stuff.
It's like the
You would
idea
read the
behind the
Silmarillion.
appendices.
Yeah. And a lot of that stuff became the appendices. So,
I heard it sound like it reads like a textbook, a history textbook, except the history just isn't real. Like it's a
It's Fire
different
and
world,
Blood,
but it still reads
essentially.
like a fucking textbook.
yeah,
Fire and Blood.
I read through
essentially.
it. It was a very fun read.
I think you'll
once
find
you
that
get
Fire
the
and
groove
Blood
of it.
is the Silmarillion, the other way around. Done. Sorry, Ninja.
No, I'm saying it reads like Fire and Blood.
What is Fire and Blood? That's a part of the Song of Ice and
That's-
Fire, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's which one is that?
The
That's
book that George R. R. Martin was writing instead of writing his next book.
To his credit,
I-
it's a good book so far. I've read about
I thought I heard
like
he
an eighth
dropped
of it.
Winds of Winter. Like it actually came out, or did he just announce that he
Yeah.
finished writing it and like it has yet to be published?
he keeps announcing he's finished writing it, and then he hasn't finished writing it, and nobody fucking knows what's happening. I don't know. I don't think he knows what's happening or whether he's finished it.
Didn't
I
something
know.
happen with Patrick Rothfuss recently?
I haven't
I
been
heard like
following
something
fancy
he was
authors,
like
to be honest.
being made a joke of recently.
Look at all these muscle monkeys. Sorry,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. Stop being gay for a second.
I would say
No,
this.
PK,
My
we
theory.
find it amusing.
Oh God.
My personal theory is that he was almost done with Winds of Winter, and then the latest seasons of Game of Thrones came out, and it's this was our plot, and people don't like this. I don't like this. Rewrite from the beginning.
Fuck it all.
Ugh.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like,
Pass it
this.
off.
And to be fair, like in all honesty, I can understand why you might be kind of depressed by watching those seasons and just like lose all momentum to edit and shit. And then in that time, your ideas morph. Like I'm sure I know how probably he's ended up down a trap, but
Oh my gosh, actually, I just
Well,
had an
it's
idea for a great watch. Is that someone did a rewrite of the ending of Game of Thrones? It's like a 2-hour video, but he actually does an amazing job of setting up the structure, and like it feels like something that could have been possible. So it might be fun to go over it. I think it would have been a better conclusion.
That's the news.
I am not as kind to George R. R. Martin when it comes to his feelings about the ending of Game of Thrones. You had your chance. You could have finished it before the show comes out.
oh yeah, I'm not excusing him. I'm just saying there is logical human emotion behind it because
I just
it's
think
not
he doesn't wanna fix
it's
it.
not him being random and amorphous. There is a reason behind it, and you can see the line of logic. It doesn't mean
Oh,
he
yeah.
shouldn't have pulled himself out of it, but you know, he's a human.
I subscribe that he wrote himself into such a massive corner that he feels so overwhelmed. He's gonna die without finishing it. He should just pass it off to someone. He really should.
Yeah, I would honestly love Joe Abercrombie to finish it because Joe Abercrombie is awesome.
Because like I think in there is proof that
At
sometimes
least it would be brief.
the fan, someone can love something more than something you've created.
That is
would not-
true.
Do not have me write the ending. Write those books.
Oh, yeah.
If I would pass it off immediately because I would not be.
Someone asked who's a good YA author. The girl that wrote Hunger Games and what's that?
Suzanne Collins.
Yeah, Suzanne Collins. Because I got on Hunger Games TikTok and someone actually like breaking down the book after I read it a long time ago, and I'm like, wow, this book really was fucking it. Oh,
So,
really well done.
Trip brought it up, and I was looking at the news earlier. Patrick Rothfuss is releasing another book for King, Name of the Wind.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the ending that we've been promised. It's a novella prequel again.
Oh dear.
Dunn, have you ever heard of the book? I'm reading this right now. It's called The Priory of the Orange Tree.
No,
I've
I
heard
have
of
not.
that. I've never. I've seen it on the shelves, like in the bookshop, like a lot. But
It's a
I've never
thick
picked
boy.
it up.
I was told it was really great. It's woman-centered high fantasy.
They're all woman-centered.
Lame.
Oh.
Shut the
Okay,
fuck up.
I got a guy center one that I have a personal favorite young adult book when I was read when I was young. John Flanagan's Ranger's Apprentice.
I actually like those books. I dropped off at the Eric's Rescue book, but
I was the Knights one, the one involving them going to Scotland, I think, or something like that. That's when I dropped off. There's a lot of them. There's like 10 in the first series, and then there's Brother Ban, and then there's a sequel series. So I lost track.
Well, anyway, I'm liking the book.
I do like it as well. I just I've kind of only I've kind of just only have time to really listen to books. I can't really read very often, or like will up the mental energy to read unless it's for a purpose, like I'm helping a buddy. But yeah, Trip, I like these, like the ideas.
Oh yeah, we were here for a reason.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. we're quickly helping Dunn.
All right, so you got the holy people, you got the anti-holy people, and then you got lizard people.
Do you have a conflict idea yet, or like a general idea?
I guess my kind of idea is that the main conflict is between the faithful and the apostates, and often the apostates will stir up the other alien races against the faithful.
Okay.
That's kind of the idea that I'm working with. And
good old religious conflict, yes.
Good old religious conflict. We're gonna make the
yes.
Yeah.
Dude, we all love that.
Yeah, and there's even like heavy references to the LDS Church where the faithful are basically organized in the exact same way as the LDS Church, except for kind of the ecclesiastical ward branch.
So the faithful are going to be like the good version of that, and they're the protagonists that the.
Okay, interesting. Interesting take. Well, the apostates are kind of a loosely formed, kind of more, I guess, they're in a lot of ways they are like chaos in terms of they are basically anti-morality. They're basically, you can do anything you want, really.
Right.
What are these lizard people? No, they're actually they're called Slytherin.
They're snake people.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they find lizard people really offensive, Valerian. I think you should, watch your language.
Latter-day Holies. No, I'm still working on some of the names. Slytherin is actually a subtle Raid Shadow Legends.
For God's sake!
Oh my God! What?
Oh no! Is this stream sponsored by them?
No.
Sorry.
Oh God!
2 seconds. What?
No, my dad just got me addicted to the game.
God!
No.
Every word just keeps getting worse.
Your dad needs a prison sentence.
Dunn,
So
this has
so
become an intervention. We're friends of yours, and we're worried about your health.
Oh my gosh.
Just put
But
the crappy mobile game down, okay?
back to the story. Tell me
Oh.
more about the dichotomy, or yeah.
no,
No,
I like
fuck you.
this. But no, like lizard people kind of look like this. That's kind of the idea that I'm going for.
That looks sick.
Nice.
Looks like
Yeah.
a death claw.
Are they like? What part are they gonna play in the story? Are they just there for right now?
For right now, I haven't figured out them as anything other than as antagonists that just kind of rove around. They're similar to the let me see, lizards, Stormhawks. If anybody's ever heard of
Those guys! Yeah, raptors! The raptors!
Yeah, that's kind of one idea that
Oh
I
my
had
God.
where I can.
Yes! Do they ride on motorcycles that transform into aircraft?
Oh,
You
wait
know,
a
why
second.
not?
Is that what that is? That's a. I feel.
Yeah,
like
that's
I've seen that
Stormhawk.
show.
Yeah!
Yeah,
Like I've seen
I love
commercials for the show.
Stormhawk.
I've never watched it.
It's a fun show. It's a fun show to watch.
It looks like the same era as like Ben 10.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's like a teenager.
Yes, it was released on that time.
Ben 10 plus. That's the only way I can think of it.
Sorry, you guys cut out for a second. What?
We were just reminiscing on Ben 10. Alien
Ben
Force.
10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of the idea that that they're kind of just wandering barbarians essentially. But yeah, motorcycles that turn into aircraft sounds like it would be cool.
I thought you would just use them to rip off the orcs.
True, I could, yeah. You always got to have your wandering barbarian race, like you have, Klingon. There was also the what are those things from Firefly? Reavers from Firefly.
I'm thinking of I believe it's the Tandosians from Star Wars.
Yeah.
The race that Bosk is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where they hunt and try and kill and eat Jedi.
No, not Jedi, Wookiees, from what I recall.
It changes.
Yeah.
I have a crazy idea. If I don't know how far you want to push the whole sci-fi element, fantasy element, would you give them ships like from Treasure Planet?
You're talking about the the ones that look like galleons and all that?
Yeah.
The sci-fi Victorian era?
Yeah, Age of Sail ships, but in space.
My thought process between these is that they're often used as pawns because they're stupid by the apostates to kind of weaken the faithful. And they're often used as grunts. And they're kind of their own they're their own faction, but they mostly just kind of raid for resources. They aren't like orcs in that they just exist to fight. They're more just a group of aliens that want to eat. I'm just thinking, kind of an idea that I had was actually from Zathura. They have a lizard alien race.
Yeah!
And I think that they eat people. I at least
Yes.
I remember there being a really disturbing scene.
Zorgons.
Yeah.
Zorgons. They go to places that has a lot of heat, and then they eat meat. Wear meat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of the idea. Maybe I'll integrate some of that. I remember that.
So,
yeah. Go for it.
If this is if you haven't thought on this, that's fine. But I'm kind of curious what you want to say between the War of the Holies and the Unholies.
What do you mean by what I want to say?
I don't know. Like, how do you want it to play out? By like, it's reflecting, LDS,
Mhm.
and so are the apostates directly LDS apostates?
Kind of the idea is that they are apostatized from the cause of humanity,
Oh, okay.
and they've kind of decided to just kind of devote themselves to darker, more eldritch powers and
I see.
forsake all morality.
I'll say that, yeah, because like, okay, so when I first heard that as someone who's
Mhm.
deconstructing from evangelical Christianism, it just kind of
Mhm.
seemed like playing into that same narrative.
Oh no, I've seen and hated enough religious movies that I know what I
Yeah.
don't want to do. I know I'm not going to directly preach doctrine.
Yeah, and like, you know, going all from that, and of course I've been going into like humanism, so I mean that's fun, and your book doesn't have to make me come.
Okay, I have a for a plot idea. Do you want to focus on like how many guys do you want for your main cast, your main hero team? Do you want to be about one guy, a group of guys?
The initial idea was on 3 fronts.
Okay, so it's
there's-
a war.
Yeah, it's a major war across. My initial plan is about 6 planets,
Okay.
kind of representing each of the stakes that currently exist in Kansas.
In
Okay.
the states in Kansas? Oh, it's about Kansas?
Well, kind of the idea is, so I served my mission in Kansas. And it was called the Kansas Wichita Mission.
Oh, yeah, you were in Wichita. I remember we talked about that.
And the premise is, and kind of my idea is that each of the planets is going to represent each of the zones that that exist currently, and there's usually 2 to 3 zones per stake. And there was the Derby stake, there was the Wichita stake, the Topeka stake, the Salina stake,
Andover. Well, unless Andover was too small.
Andover. Andover is part of the Mays First Ward, which is a smaller section.
All right, fuck Andover anyway.
I am aware of Andover. I went
Fuck
there a
those
couple
people.
times.
Okay. I'll say it live and I'll say it again. Someone who had to deal with them. God, they were all fucking bullies. Anyway.
Kansas? Can you imagine Mormons in Oz? That would be very interesting.
Mormons in Oz. That would be fun.
Fundamental. Oh my god!
Full of guys with 5.
Oh no.
I think you should have just a fringe version of that comes in and everyone's like, oh fucking god.
You know, I probably should put that in. That would
That's
actually be interesting.
That would be
one of their contacts. One of the, like, I'm assuming with 6 planets you want like 6 points of views, so at least 6 main characters, and like one of their contacts is just a guy who does that.
So the cult attempted to violate principles. Yeah. So are the faithful the status quo and the apostle or the apostates. Sorry, not apostles. Are they threatening the status quo?
I would say yes. Ultimately, what they're doing, like they do have literal demonic possession and ascension happening on occasion, and they
the shadow cabal. Oh, so they're the shadow cabal.
Kind of.
Okay.
And they are. Their ultimate goal is the subjugation of humanity, and it's kind of the idea of they strip resources from everybody.
Yeah.
I'm Smosif Chip.
What?
I'm
Oh, I see it now.
I love you, Valerian, but I am not going to do that because I do not want to come off as Pure Flicks.
Oh my god, Pure Flicks.
Because Pure Flicks is fundamentally awful. It's okay, Valerian. I think that's a very funny joke.
That was hilarious.
Yeah,
I
do want
Pulitzer Prize.
And kind of, I am thinking kind of there's either the faithful that act as kind of military, and then there's kind of a side people who aren't necessarily aligned with that particular faith leaning, that have their own ideas, but they often will ally with either side, depending on how they feel. That's
Militant
kind of the
religious
idea.
followers, yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is
The
Warhammer
far
inspired,
yeah.
but there's no
And-
good guys in Warhammer.
I
No,
fully am
humanity is.
aware.
Come on, humanity's the good guys. Everybody knows this.
Oh, just because you look like them doesn't mean that they have to be the good guys.
They're the closest we have the good guys
That doesn't make them
Honestly,
good.
because they look like me.
honestly, the tower,
Okay.
honestly, the tower probably closer to good guys.
No, not the space commies.
No, they are
No
not.
space
They're China.
commies.
They're China.
I like the space orcs because at
Oh
least
my
they're
God.
they're direct. There you go.
That is true.
Good
They are.
They're more of a
Boys.
nature. They are. You can't mark.
Come on, you humies.
Technically, the Eldar is probably the closest to the good guys, but they're too arrogant and they murder banged a god to existence.
Mhm.
They're also elves. Elves suck.
Do you have an ending in mind?
Okay, that is a good question. So,
I feel.
Uh,
Sorry.
I at least, it's not really going to be a definitive end to the war. Kind of, since this is in part based on kind of my mission experiences, there is actually going to be, I am actually going to be in this book.
Oh god. Oh god. Dunn's finally cracked his writing self-inserts.
Oh no.
Hell yeah! You better put me in there too as a quack.
Oh no, I'm afraid
Cheesemaker,
I'm gonna
you
get.
mean?
He's gonna give me a grisly death. And
To be-
I'm
embarrassing.
attached because I'm a Kansan, and I'll take that, and I'll tell you all about Kansan. There is much
Okay.
to
You know
learn.
what
It's
you
really
should
not that
do?
deep.
I do. So the one like bit that I thought. So in the Aragon series, like the one true piece of merit is the weird lady character that pops up every so often. That's like genuinely the most intelligent character in the entire book, and she just gives a bit of advice. She's a bit cryptic, but she's great.
Oh, the
She's
Leventress
amazing.
elf?
No.
Angela.
It's Angela. That's her name. She's like some, like
Kooky
like little-
weirdo, like Becca.
little. Shut up. Some little witchy girl, and she's great. And she just turns up
Elva?
and chatting about frogs and shit. No, it's Angela. But anyway, yeah, no, you should totally have a character like Angela, but it's Seta, and she's a cheesemonger, and she just pops out puzzle with
Jesus.
wisdom.
I want to give prophecies that are slightly off.
I
Or no, like prophecies for insignificant things. Like I prophesize that you're gonna knock over your coffee cup. It doesn't do anything, but you knocked over your coffee cup.
Mhm.
Truth be
So-
told, the one encounter I've had with you, Setter, I made an entire character around.
Fuck yeah! You gotta tell me about that.
Just real quick. I
Hell
made up the character named Kieran a long time ago. It's literally Tarek spelled backwards. And
Hell
Becca
yeah.
knows the origin of this story. Essentially, she becomes this bard going around starting her own cult. And the whole
That
entire
sounds like Setter.
whole entire idea is that Tarek gets wind of this and he's like, "Oh fuck no, not on my watch." So it ends in a bard duel.
A bar duel. I'm so close to it, my boys. I'm so close to creating a cult. I swear to God.
Yeah.
Oh
So
dear.
I can promise
Let me
that
tell you
there
about my
are
relatives there.
kind of Gary Stu characters in this book, but they are not mine, not me, since I actually was only slightly above average. I never got to, say, assistant or even zone leader status when I was
Okay,
on the
let's
mission.
just outline just for the stupid people in the room. Having lots of abilities and being prestigious doesn't mean Gary Stew.
Yes.
Having the plot bend around you for no reasonable reason is what makes you a Gary Stew. Let's stop acting. I hate that. It really pisses me off that that's the assumption. Oh god, it
Yep,
really
that good
annoys me.
people. Yeah.
Well,
all
like,
the new
look,
ones have
when
been
Oh,
it
you're
done.
competent. You must be a fake self-insert character. No, actually, it's just that they're not shit.
They're just
I'm
competent.
I'm just, the more I've been thinking about writing and consuming stories, the more I come to the conclusion is that a lot of rules for writings are guidelines, not hard rules. You can bend them.
The
It's
pirate
still-
code's more like
Oh my God. Well, it is and it isn't. It's just a case of like understanding. It's about how it affects the story. Does it fuck up the story? Does it make the story go off on a random tangent and not have any setup and payoff? Because you're just, having fun with the fact that your character can do no wrong. Yeah, that's shit. But if your character's competent, just makes the everything bigger and everything more exciting, then it's fine.
Like Mary Sue, Gary Stu. It's the kiddie pool. It's a kiddie pool character.
Yeah.
And like little kids and new writers, they write Mary Sue, Gary Stews all the time because that's just what you do, and then you go find your practice.
A lot of the time, it's because you're like kind of almost too scared to give your characters actual conflict. It's like you're not ready to commit to it. Not ready to commit to shit to have things happening to them and them having to suffer and learn.
Gary Stews and Mary Sue's, they honestly just kind of feel like someone's processing something. And like, go ahead, process that shit. But I'm not gonna read. I'm not gonna read your mental coming to terms with whatever, unless at the end of it you're boinking a character I like. So
I kind of viewpoint
boinking a character I like.
Okay, I thought I heard right.
They have sex.
Yes, they fuck.
They had the sex.
Sorry.
But, I kind of viewpoint when you're just writing, just write whatever is on your mind, and then you can always refine it. Like that's the thing. It's refinement is always better.
Yeah.
I have the trouble of thinking too much and not putting stuff down.
It's hard.
So I'm not
doing it. I finally sat down. I'm gonna write a fucking original novel. It started out, of course, fan fiction, but it's changed so much that it isn't.
Oh no, you're one of those, Seta. You're one of those.
Shut the fuck up. That's how it is. If you haven't written fan fiction, what the fuck are you?
It's not about writing fan fiction. It's about being one of those authors that repurpose their fan fiction into an original story.
That's fair. Although it's
I have actually done that.
Oh, there we go.
I know. Let the woman who has no published book. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Sorry.
You guys want a little bit of Tarek lore real quick? I've written self-insert Halo fan fiction.
Hell yeah!
Oh! Don't tell Noble that.
What'd you do in it?
I saved the fucking Earth.
Fuck yeah, you fucking did.
Because well, that's the thing. Tarek Chad, he's got a model girlfriend. He's got an actual job that pays well.
My headphones cut out when you're about to explain what you did in the fanfiction.
Save the goddamn Earth.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Hell
happy.
yeah.
I'm happy now. I know.
Urad Ash is born to kill.
What do you...
Come on, what do you think, Trip? Do you know anything from Halo?
Explosions. I don't know anything about Halo.
From the fucking Covenant. Hell yeah. Although
incels are Mormons.
Well, the Covenant are incels, so.
Oh
no. Oh dear, that could.
Yeah.
But anyway, so okay, so
Mormon incels that they could not get multiple wives, and they decided to say fuck it.
Yeah. Okay. So your story is focused on a war, and there's 6 fronts, so at least 6 characters.
The idea is that there's kind of the higher up leadership position where there's kind of the overall broad view, and that's the commander and his assistants, where he'll send them in to take care of any problems that might be existing or help out in specific zones or specific planets. Then there's I think you'll probably find this cringe, but this was actually my nickname by one of my companions. Dunn Righteous is his call sign.
You know what? That is so ridiculous. I like it.
You just need to have the characters point it out and make fun of it, and there you go.
Deal.
Fun with it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of just like it was this quirky guy, and I just called him Lee Bags. That was his nickname.
But that's how nicknames work in the military.
Yeah,
You get your nickname based on your screw-ups.
yeah. Lee Bags and Dunn Righteous was kind of our pairing. We were together for 6 months.
Mm.
So I'm assuming like the missionary groups are treated as like they're uber commandos, like top of the line soldiers.
Pretty much, yeah. With kind of small, often as in command of smaller units, larger to smaller units.
What's
Okay.
question? What is the hierarchy? Like, who is your god emperor?
So that's a good question. That part I have figured out. So there's the triarchy, which are a trio of experienced people with a prophet at the top, with the prophet and his 2 counselors at the top. And then there's the Apostolicus, which is a group of council of 12 underneath them. And then there's the Senatum, which is a group of 70 that are underneath them that act as overseers and administrators over the multiple planetary expeditions throughout the galaxy.
So it's more the High Lords of Terra rather than one singular leader.
Kind of, yeah.
So, who are they faithful to? Like
I was thinking kind of putting it as kind of a general
humanism?
I was thinking just kind of standard Christian morals.
Oh, standard Christian morals. Well, I mean, like, do they have like a direct deity? So, like a Christian stand-in.
I was thinking Christian stand-in, yeah.
Okay.
You could do supreme being or like the supreme deity. You can rip that off from the French Revolution.
Excuse me, you must.
You must have to, namely Becca Cedar and I. One of them have damn baby prophetess. No, they can have. Look, he gets to feed into and not examine that.
I'm fine with making half of the Apostolicus female. I'm totally fine with that.
That'd be good. It always feels nicer, but it would feel a bit too familiar. I mean, like it all. Well, my book, the overarching plot is about killing God, so I.
So essentially,
quite literally, actually.
His dark materials. Doctrine.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
No worries. Doctrine. That's a good question. So I'm very much basing it off of the military standards. No, it's Total War. It is definitely Total War.
It's Total War. Ugh.
That reminds me, Dunn, you need to download the Armageddon mod for Dawn of War. That has some great stuff in it, and it's multiplayer. We need to do that with some people at some point.
Okay, I'd be down. Yeah, the Armageddon mod.
Yeah, the Armageddon mod.
Oh, okay, I will find the Armageddon mod.
No, it's I'll figure out the name. It's it began with an A, but I can't remember. But it adds like a whole shit ton of new units.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like Titans.
That does sound cool. Okay, that does sound cool. The creator, the maker, half of a trio female. What do you mean by half of a trio exactly? Like a pairing? I know one thing is basically
make one of them intersex.
Oh my god!
You go ahead.
I knew that was gonna come up.
Well, for sure, kind of the idea is that I'm definitely not going to be including a lot of the mission handbook stuff or the White Bible, as it's often called by missionaries, where it's this. I actually think I might still have mine lying around somewhere. Still might have it. 1 second. Let me take a look. I know I have a white handbook somewhere. Found it. Actually,
Why's it got to be white?
I don't know. It was just called so. So this is what I'm talking about.
Aw, so Diddy. Look at that. It's so cute.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just this little thing. This even has a
passport.
No, it's not a passport. It's a
It's a god
authorization.
passport.
It's authorization. Yeah.
Into heaven.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's yeah, just little things.
Mormons
Wait,
get
what
to
did
the
that say? Would you open that again? I wanted to read it. That front. Let's see.
literal white magic tome.
Oh my goodness.
Ah, yeah, okay.
But yeah, I still have it to this day. Even after
Well, I apologize. One more. Mormons are the literal white mages.
It gives you the scripture gives you authority.
The White Bible.
The White Bible. Oh my.
Oh
dear. Oh dear.
Unique language. No, I'm not going to go as far as kind of the Catholic Church influences. Kind of the idea is that they're trying to disseminate the information as wide as they can, and they're kind of the de facto defenders of humanity in a lot of ways. Where what Mormon? Okay.
Check your Mormon privilege.
I guess I'll check it along with the Jewish people around.
Whoa!
I'm sorry.
Said the J word.
Sorry. I just the only reason why I say this is because the Mormons, Jews, and Black people are the only person that had an executive kill order placed on them.
I was when I went to England last in December. I learned I wasn't allowed within England for like what was it, Becca? 400 years.
Oh, yeah, that was a good while.
And then And then I responded with something like, "You know what? Fuck it, I'm moving to Germany. Nothing bad ever happens to Jews there."
He was chatting to a historian at the time. We were in Shakespeare's house. We were visiting Stratford, and the historian's like, well, yes, quite. It was really, she had a good laugh with us, but she was like, "Oh my goodness, is edgy American."
Yeah. But yeah, Sutter, Mormons did in the 1820s, 1830s. It was okay for people in Missouri to kill a Mormon on sight, and it was treated no different than the slaughter of cattle.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't realize that was.
Yeah, that's why they went to Utah.
I was wondering why they decided to go there, because when you look around,
there's nothing here.
Is it really Zion? Is it really? Well, Zion is pretty Zion, but the rest of Utah.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, really. In Missouri, it was like, yeah. I think that certain people can put that, like, the certain planets just decide that aren't even associated with the apostates, just decide, or even maybe they're influenced by apostates. That's actually
the secular ones. So the secular ones have to be influenced by the negative faction to even think about breaking away from the faithful.
Well, kind of the idea is that humanity is kind of broken, and the faithful ends up being one of the larger. That is kind of like it's split between two groups and so kind of actually there's something interesting. Most of the problems that a lot of the problems that the LDS people faced are actually because of reports by people who had apostatized, and a lot of the biggest detractors were either the evangelical ministers of the time or people who were of the church and then
who left it because they were most likely abused.
Yeah, either they were abused. There were some people that there was a misunderstanding. There were misunderstandings that they
personality conflicts. The list could go on.
There is a story about a guy who the prophet misspelled his name and he left at the church and ended up later on being part of the mob that Tartan pulled the prophet out of his house and Tartan feathered him.
Wow.
That's funny.
That is so petty.
That is pretty petty, but I'm just thinking
There probably were people who felt like they were abused. Most of them did not cite that as their reason for leaving the church, though. I imagine there were probably times where that happened, but those aren't really reflective of people who actually live and understand and live the doctrine.
Well,
That's
if they leave the doctrine, then the people under the doctrine wouldn't say it's abuse because they've already accepted it.
true. I think that there's elements of abuse is abuse, no matter under what context.
Yeah,
Like it's
Yeah.
under,
like
and I fully acknowledge that. Yeah.
because
I'll
like
be right back, guys. Be back in a minute.
in evangelical Christianism, a lot of people are waking up to the fact that a lot of the systems in there were terribly abusive. Like the people, what was expected of them, I was religiously abused.
Oh, definitely. That is very unfortunate, and
So it kind of makes
that is
all of this
unfortunate.
kind of yucky for me, but it just means
Well,
it's not
yeah.
for me.
I understand. I've encountered people who do think that way, and I can respect that that is their choice if that is their experience, and I'm not going to force anything on anybody.
Yeah, but so I am an evangelical.
Sorry, hold on. CJ's talking to me.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
My experience, just seeing stuff in the church going on in evangelical church as a Presbyterian, it's like it's complicated, but I see where you have high expectations of leaders, and then also setting up for failure. And unfortunately, it's high profile once gets covered, and not so much the more successful times an organization does well in terms of those areas.
And then there's just me, British, which means like got christened and kind of forgot about religion after that point. Went, oh yeah, churches are cool, aren't they? They're quite pretty. Oh yeah, we go there at Christmas for some Christmas carols sometimes. Oh, that's very pretty. Oh, that's very nice. Oh wow, the end.
Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out what would be a good. So you wanted more bigger scale story in this one?
Okay, that's a good question. So kind of there's the upper leadership, and they're trying to accomplish a major goal. They're trying to hold about this relates to the triple digit vision that my mission had. Basically, it was the idea that we want to make the attempt to baptize 100 people in 1 month.
Well,
and
I am back. Hello. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
missed all of your anecdotes. I wanted to hear them.
I got back just in time to hear that Mormons have a quota.
Mormons have a quota, yeah. Oh gosh, that's.
Um.
But yeah, I don't like proselytizing.
I understand that.
But like I said, my book is about killing God, so that's kind of where I'm at, and I fully that's incongruent here.
I would say that yes, it is action, but I do want to kind of focus on both that, kind of both the great and powerful. The kind of the job of the great and powerful is to protect those beneath them. And
Oh,
not
by
to
the
rule.
way, I need to
Sorry,
step
go
out
for it.
now.
Okay. Oh,
right.
by the way, what is your? Oh, that's a
What is
cool
my what?
avatar. Oh, I was just looking at your avatar. It looks good.
Oh yeah, that's just that was an inspo piece. I didn't have my regular avatar, so I didn't make
Oh, nice.
that. But I'll see y'all later.
See you later, Setters. Thank you for your help. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And the anecdote.
Yeah, no problem. I'll feed you more into it if you're at least curious at looking at it. Maybe you can use it for the apostates. I don't know. But
Maybe.
all right.
Maybe.
Bye.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah.
So your story, I would say one of your themes you want to focus on is leadership.
Mm-hmm. Definitely leadership and kind of what makes a good leader versus a bad leader. I think the idea is that so a big thing that my mission tried to focus on actually was the idea of Christ-like leadership, that you try to lead as Christ would, where you love the people underneath them, but you expect high things of them, as well as demonstrate by example what kind of missionaries that you wanted them to be. I also wanted to really get into kind of the band of brothers aspect of it, or bands of brothers and sisters that was really a big thing in my mission, where we were all really where most of us like got along really good, and we were just like a big family, and we were just happy to see each other and reunite whenever we saw each other, with a couple of exceptions. There was one missionary that I to this day hate, and I am actually going to put him in there.
Oh no.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Oh, go for it. Sorry, you had something to say.
So I'm just thinking, okay, so you want a kind of a mixture of Band of Brothers and like, an overarching thing. Would it be tough to focus on like a single planet? Like have a grueling conflict in a single planet, and then you can hint that there's multiple wars in multiple planets? Because that's like I'm thinking of like how like 40K does something, or like other book series does it, where like, yes, there's a big conflict, there's like an epic scale thing, but the story we're focusing on something very small and specific, so that you get attached to the characters.
So maybe instead of kind of having it be planets, they're continents on a planet, or even 2 different planets.
Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 different planets, like
in the same rough solar system.
Yeah, you could do something like that, or like you can have them all in the same solar system. Like you can have where like you can even do the 3 planets and treat each planet as like a different act. Where you have Act 1, you're on a planet, and the results of that will lead into Act 2 on another planet, and then Act 3 is like the important planet where the climactic battle happens.
Yeah, I kind of have the idea that there are 2 acts, because I actually had 2 different mission presidents, and I left partway. My mission concluded in the middle of the second one, and I actually got to interview him for some of his insights and stuff like that a couple nights ago, and that gave me a lot of ideas where he would actually interact with one of the Quorum of the 12 as his direct supervisor that he would account to, and talk about how the thing was going. And I'm going to try and talk to the other one soon, because he had a very different story. He basically, the second one, he took over from my previous one, but the one who was there before, he basically had to build a mission from scratch, and take 2 different missions, merge them into one, and deal with 2 very different systems.
2 different groups of people?
Yeah, it was originally a very kind of lazy, kind of disobedient group that just didn't want to work hard, and then a very straight-laced, very uppity, very prideful type mission, and he had to merge them together.
Wow.
Oh my. That's definitely story material.
And kind of the worst part is it's a bunch of 19 to 25-year-olds that he had to deal with.
Oh no.
So I definitely want to get his story directly from his mouth and tell, and kind of especially since he and he's actually he was probably the best person for it because he's an ex-JAG officer. For the Air Force, which I would say people join the apostates for a couple reasons. Not getting advancements when they felt like they deserved it. The initial faction was basically that they are dissatisfied with what they had and wanted more, didn't get it, and decided to leave. There's they find the rules, or at least the rules of morality, constricting and decide to leave and basically live as they want. Sometimes it's a devil's bargain. Sometimes they just want power and feel like they can get it elsewhere, as well as other things. Sometimes I think a major one is kind of the desire to be free and without constraints is the main flaw. At least kind of in my mind, the idea is that kind of rules of morality keep you safe to a certain extent. And then these apostates, they want to leave and get their own, basically decide, hey, I'm just going to make my own morality and you can't tell me what to do. Join out of conviction. I think that there are maybe people that are raised apostate that are told, no, they robbed you of your privileges. They are the reason why you are in a much less good situation. Are the faithful tyrannical? I would say no. They're kind of similar to, in some ways, they're faithful to Numenor when it was at its height. I would say that as opposed when it was at the height of like faithfulness, as opposed to say Ar-Pharazôn or when the Kingmen took over.
Yeah. The only slightly accurate part of Rings of Power.
Yeah, and they decided to make it about gerbs.
Well, it's more their interpretation of the lore. But yeah, that attitude was very common when, especially by the time of Al-Pharazôn.
Yeah,
They did not like elves at all. So any
they
excuse.
I think that I think that by and large, yeah, they are not tyrannical, but I would say the individual, there can be points where there are individuals that are within kind of the faithful faction don't behave in an amoral fashion, and they need to be chastised for what they've done. There's a bunch of at least a few of my inspiration is actually coming from the Book of Mormon as far as the individual factions, actions, and some of their reasoning for turning against them. That's kind of one thing. I do know, I have a couple of moments that I want to put in where, like, I know for me, there were a lot of missionaries that I saw, like, those guys are my heroes. Like, there was one guy, his name was Elder Stanford. He was a hard worker and just didn't didn't ever stop. And often he would leave his companions broken because he just worked so hard.
Damn.
But he was a good guy. A lot of the people were just exhausted but eventually, like, the president realized, okay, let's just put him with really hard workers, and that way he doesn't wear them out. So he got made his own leader and eventually an assistant to the president. And that's how he finished his mission, which is actually relatively rare. Not very many missionaries finished as assistants. and I even will have. I would say yes. I think kind of the idea would be definitely not too evil or too perfect. I think that there would be degradations of evil, and that there would be ideas of some of the views of individual pieces of of I would say that there are probably people who are noble among the apostates and even the unaffiliated evangels, where they're just on neither side really of this conflict. And then kind of the idea is then there's a mechanicalized race called the Steelborn. I haven't fully gotten to them yet. I do know one idea that I want to have in there is that one of my the character that I have basically he's like teamed with a bunch of companions that he really gets along with and works well with, and that they go in and often do relatively well within the work hard within the planet that they're put in. And often he just collects swords, and just when his second mission president or the second commander comes in after the first one gets released, he just gives his commander swords whenever they meet for accountability interviews. Since I always gave my mission president a tie whenever I saw him.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So So what I'm hearing is that you kind of am aiming for more of a Tolkien-esque morality system where there's good and evil, but that doesn't mean the individuals are going to be perfect. Yeah.
Or even just that even there's gradations. Yeah, I guess I've always heard of degradations, but gradations works actually better, I think. I think that kind of the idea is that it's not that the faithful are too perfect. I would say that kind of the issue is that the apostates believed have a flawed perspective that is built on their biases and a desire for control and power, or even at points where they just decide, I want autonomy. I would say yes. I would say that yeah. I would say that they would be essentially a very much outside of the conflict and just kind of are often a faction unto themselves, where they believe in I guess kind of like the Borg, where they want to assimilate other races. And they're basically made of living metal.
Wow.
You have like this Slytherin being more about survival.
Yeah, they're very much raiders. I haven't figured out what I want the wolf race to be, since I just kind of like the idea of a kind of spacefaring high-tech werewolf faction. Just that's because I think that's cool.
Those are called space wolves.
Not those types. Not those space wolves.
True. Fair enough.
But yeah, that was my first thought was, oh, Vikings. This is like, wait, no, that's space wolves. Like,
yeah. Speaking of which, I actually have that clip. Where is that?
Oh, the wolf.
Yeah.
That series is so great.
Yeah, it's really that the little I've seen is very, very funny.
It's just too bad GW is a complete piece of shit company.
Yeah, that does kind of suck. Yeah, that is very, very
The
unfortunate.
current Wolf Lord of the Space Wolves is Logan Grimnar, also known as the Old Wolf. He rules from the Hall of the Great Wolf, together with his Wolf Lords such as Harold Deathwolf, Eagle Ironwolf, and Bjorn Stormwolf.
All I got out of that was wolf, 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 and wolf.
The Space Wolves are incredibly uninspired.
Actually, interesting story. The guy who's voicing Rogel Dorn, I know that guy personally.
Oh, that's
Really?
cool.
Yeah,
That
he
is
was
really cool.
he was actually one of the GMs for our Rogue Trader game for a long time, along with this other guy. Wonderful guy.
That's a great voice for dungeon mastering.
Oh, he did. He played I'm trying to remember. Oh, good God. I think I remember where I got the name Tyrion from.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
I
Deep
think
lore
that
here.
was the name of his character, but I can't remember. It began with a T. No, it was Terran. Terran Damos. That was the name. Okay, thank Christ.
You didn't rip him off.
I got close though. I got real damn close without realizing it.
Oh yeah, I'm actually definitely using a lot of names from my mission. Like my mission president's name is Mike Bell, and then his assistants are Percival Lim and are Percival Merrifield, and I can't remember the name for Lim. There's a couple new little things here and there. I know I haven't figured out. I know the end, at least, of the first era is where they have this. There's this one place that they really want to break into. That they really want to get hold of, and they've been trying to get that for the whole time, and the president knows he's going to get released from his calling and get replaced by a new commander because his term is over and gets sent back. And so that's the grand push, and that's basically what ends the first era. And then there's going to be the second one, and that's going to end as soon as basically since I don't have anything more that I can write really after I got finished with the mission. So that's kind of going to be the end, where Dunn Righteous is transferred out of the mission to basically transfer back home for rest and recuperation for a while.
Oh, please. In Warhammer, you never get to go home. You do. Either in a bag or in pieces. You're not alive.
Or your home is the ship that travels to the next war.
That was my character. He was a Voidborn. His home was wherever the ship was.
The other idea is that as opposed to having kind of that actually was a joke among missionaries, that when you get finished with your mission, you're dead, and your companion's the one that's killed you. So, but
my question is how didn't you get killed? I'm really genuinely curious how you're fucking alive.
The grace and the might of the Lord.
I got graced with really good companions that jived with my personality.
I had a lot of patience.
Oh, I would say yes, but more often, like, it's a bunch of guys my age that have very similar sense of humor. I think I only really offended two.
I'm not saying you offended them. I'm saying you drove them up the fucking wall and into suicide.
Well, the Lord sends his soldiers their toughest battles, and that battle's name is Malachi Dunn.
Ugh.
Traumatized from slaying thousands. Thousands, no. I know one piece of trauma is that this is semi-based on my real experience, where there was this one companion that I just hated, and and like everybody hated this kid. It was like it was basically he was a litmus test for the mission president. If a companion doesn't get along well with this missionary, I know that he's doing the right things.
Oh God.
Like it, and it was kind of just remember that. True. Yeah, so imagine a bunch of people that are semi like me in
Oh God.
some are more mature than
turns-
me.
It turns out the fucking personality comes from fucking Mormonism as a whole. But yes, Brandon Sanderson's a lovely, sweet, decent human being that isn't annoying as fuck.
The exception
who the
to the
fuck-
rule.
Oh yeah, he's the one. Oh my god, how did he survive?
His wife probably. Emily's a very lovely person.
Was she around at that time?
Probably
Maybe he
not.
gets it out through the books.
I was
That's
gonna
why all
say,
the
like,
comedy relief characters act the
The
way
poor,
they
the
do.
poor man probably had a mental breakdown from all you people.
Dunn the apostate generator. This guy was apostate before I met him. He was apostate before he got on the mission. He just continued with it. That's what we would call missionaries who were disobedient or didn't follow the rules. We would just call them, they're apostates. Oh yeah, that's embarrassing. He's the showrunner for Wheel of Time, which is apparently coming out September 1st. Oh gosh, this is gonna suck.
That's a good thing I'm not watching it.
Yeah, same here.
I jumped off that boat after they got to Tarvalin, and it's like, nope, that's enough of that.
I concur.
Did they ever recast Matt yet?
They have recast Matt. Yeah.
Great.
Wait, Matt. Why did they have to recast Matt?
They have to quit.
Oh, what?
Yeah. The one of the actors, the main actors, left partway through production.
This is a shame because he's the good one too.
And he never came. Well, nobody knows. My theory is broke contract. One of the directors hated him, or one of the producers hated him and wanted him off, or he got into a lot of drugs and was mandatorily put into rehab.
He really was the only good actor in the whole show. He actually tried to make the character seem like Matt Coughlin.
Yeah, he tried. And kind of the idea is that this one that Dunn Righteous, like he's basically has to be the leader for this mission for this guy. I haven't figured out, like, they're very similar to Space Marines. Like they actually have I think there's little, and one thing I actually put in there is footnotes at the bottom. There's the ETC, which is the Enhancement and Training Center, where they're basically turned into superhumans.
Okay.
And this kid basically betrays Dunn Righteous and leaves him for dead. And then the mission president actually like helps Dunn Righteous to recover a little bit and actually heals him, and then says, "Break it." And just kind of the idea is I actually broke down and cried on my mission president's shoulder like begging him to get me out of there.
Wow.
I actually got snot all over the mission president. My mission president's.
Jesus.
Whoa.
I was just like, I can't take this anymore. Please. I feel like I'm in an abusive relationship up here. Please get me out.
Jesus Christ.
And I guess this is kind of my processing through that to a certain extent, where the idea is that this guy just betrays him and leaves him for dead and then joins the apostates. And then the mission president just says, come on, let's get him together. And just
let's go kill that.
Oh no, the idea is, it's like, no, it's kind of the idea of justice and mercy. Take him alive, that's mercy, but you can beat him to a pulp.
The Batman method. I understand now.
Yes.
Yeah, you may. There are always zealots. Yeah, you make it sound so very healthy and attractive. Which part? But yeah, helps against. Oh yeah, I'm debating on whether making him into kind of somebody who gets demon possessed or like ascends to demonhood. Since I like that idea from 40K and I want to bring that in. I was really, I was a club of people. Yeah, well, he actually was there was a lot of gaslighting involved where he basically would say, no, this is the right thing to do. And it was like dissension. Okay, that actually could work. I like that. Dissension. That works. Isn't that what? But yeah, then that's kind of one idea for a piece that I have, and definitely even keeping the crying, because this was actually this was actually late in my mission. This was last 6 months. So I was about 20, almost 22. I was about 21 when that happened, and I just broke down. It's kind of during the mission, like my emotions ran super high due to all the stress, and now that I'm off, I feel a lot less stressed, and I feel like I'm better able to handle things. Yeah. In a lot of ways, yeah, and even like there were a lot of times I didn't like my district leaders, where I was like, I don't like your leadership style, and at certain points, like I didn't really like my trainer, but I know that yeah, I was super chill. Thank you. But yeah, it was just back to the space. Yeah, but that was kind of my experience with that, and I'm going to be channeling a little bit of that sense there. I knew another super smug. Yeah, that's I am often. That is true. But yeah, definitely kind of. I know that I do want to have a couple of the ACs or assistant commanders have specific rivals that they have to go up against at points and traps that are set. And actually, Trip had some good ideas where she put in kind of their I guess seductresses trying to lead missionaries away from their faith. So Oh yeah, I definitely think there are definitely going to be those for sure. Tech lichens.
Power of hormone.
Yeah. So tech lichen, yeah, in a lot of ways tech lion, and yeah, I think that making them actually very stratified society would be interesting. Yeah, that actually would be good. Yeah, I know that there were a couple of people that were very stressed out, and even one missionary had to leave. I know one of them actually, a couple of them actually left partway through their missions and then came back to the mission because of either health problems or were a couple of them were actually, at least one of them was reassigned from a different mission, and he left his mission early for health problems, and then when he went back out, he got assigned to the mission. He became one of the best missionaries we had.
Wow.
Yeah. He just kind of put it all in perspective for him. As far as the Wayne Wolves, I'm kind of thinking I guess like highly technologically advanced, but I guess highly like an imperial society that kind of, or as well as kind of a pack mentality, kind of going with the theme. But that seems like that would be good. As far as kind of the beginnings, I know it kind of would probably start off with the two factions coming together and trying to find common ground to fight the apostates in the area. That would kind of be the first bit. I haven't written that part. I started kind of off with kind of transfer day, which is kind of the first day of my mission. And a little bit before that, where the assistant commander and the stealth termination leaders, were two female soldiers, are trying to get revelation on where to send each of the new troops that are coming into the conflict.
Okay, so you wanted like the faithful or group of heroes meet up with the Wayne Wolves first?
I think that probably might be interesting to have a conflict with them first.
And then I'm assuming like the Slytherin can be just used as like,
What you?
if I need an action set piece, bring out the lizards.
Yeah, or basically they just kind of turn up and you gotta fight them.
Would you have the Steelborn be involved somehow?
My idea with the Steelborn is I don't really want to make them like Terminators, where they're basically a rogue AI. I think that wouldn't necessarily be very interesting. Canis Mechanica, that works. I'm doing that.
Or the top of my head, in Cyberpunk, they have this idea called an engram, where the main plot is 77 involved downloading a person's personality into a chip that you insert into like a person for special things. What if they're robots, but they're not AI. They're created from like humans or a sentient race that downloaded their minds into chips.
I guess kind of my initial idea was just that they are, I guess, like maybe kind of like the Necrons, where they kind of have rotted flesh, but they've kind of, on the instant of their birth, they are transferred, or that eventually they have figured out how to mutate their flesh into metal, and their consciousness is uploaded into a mechanical body. That does sound like an interesting idea. Or what was your idea, Shoot?
My idea was just simply that the robots, they downloaded their consciousness, and like you said you wanted like alien and simulation things. Like, what if they just like, the way they do it is that they put them on a machine, downloads their brain into a chip, do some editing, stuck into another
Hmm.
robot. Here you go.
Or even just basically they just scratch, they just injure a human, and it just spreads over. There's maybe it's like a virus where there, or like a poison that basically just coats over a person's body and basically turns it into kind of a hive mind directed individual.
Oh, so techno-organic virus.
Yeah.
From Marvel Comics, actually. It's an old X-Men idea.
Yeah, I don't know how that. I've seen bits and pieces of that, but yeah,
Yeah, it's rarely used. It's rarely used. It was used for one event in the 90s and one episode of X-Men, the anime series.
Yeah.
And
actually, thank you. Yeah, I just barely came up with that. That's actually a really neat idea. That, kind of just they want it spreads like a disease and basically just transforms the entire body into metal. That is interesting.
All right, I'm gonna head out, guys. I need to get passed out somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it. I actually got to get going too, Dunn. I'm sorry.
Hey, no worries. I think that we've made some good progress, and I really appreciate you helping me in working things out. We'll figure out. I'll have another one while I'm working through this and figure things out, or just kind of work more on the Discord to figure things out.
Sounds good.
But thank you guys all for coming. I really appreciate it. Hey,
it's a pleasure. Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
I didn't help at all.
Oh.
I'm sure you did, Crow. I'm getting sleepy, so I can't remember who helped and who didn't. But
I made a couple of jokes and then decided to give no feedback because
hey, jokes are always.
I zoned the hell out.
I was getting sleepy and drawing, so.
Fair enough. Alrighty. Well, you were saying, Ninja?
Oh, I would just say jokes always help.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Well, this has been fun, just chatting and getting to organize as well as hanging with my buddies. That's always fun.
Right.
So, and definitely, I will. If we want to do some Dawn of War tomorrow, if I can get the Armageddon mod, I would love to play against Tarek. You would probably beat my butt.
No, I'm terrible at strategy games.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never been good at them.
He'll put the jokes in the novel. Probably, actually, that would be funny. All right.
In the novel. Oh, goody! I have a character name based off me.
Oh, probably that would be interesting. I definitely need to put the pansexual raccoon in there somewhere.
Oh God,
as like a mascot.
Oh God!
All right.
Sorry, what?
There was a joke where this apparently you can fit an entire pan in a raccoon's asshole, and so the option? Okay. And I think so, yeah. And they just joked, "Oh, what about a pansexual raccoon with a rake?" And then
anyway,
that just became a meme, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know Space Junk actually did a. I'll have to look back through the streams to find that, but I just know that was a funny one, and
I've been gone for longer than I thought.
All right, I gotta get going.
This was
I'll
actually,
see you later.
No, this was actually while you were streaming with us.
Oh, yeah, wow. It was proper old, but
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I gotta go.
At least a year ago.
I passed out.
All right. See ya. Sleepy, Becca. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Hi, folks. Thank you.
Bye.